Hello everyone, in this video we are just going to develop the Python scripts in Tony IDE for ESP8266 module or NodeMCU for configuring it as AccessPoint. Let's get started. In the previous video we just studied in detail about the AccessPoint configuration in networking, and in this video we are just going to configure the NodeMCU module as AccessPoint. And let's open the Tony IDE. I'm just going to create a new file by clicking on this particular icon or Ctrl+N in my keyboard, and then save this file by clicking on File tab and Save button or Ctrl+S. Move to the respective location where you want the Python scripts to be saved, and here I'm just going to save it as AP. So the first and foremost thing that I'm going to do is I'm just going to import few modules, that is network module. Following that, I'm just going to import socket module, and below that I'm just going to define my main function, and inside the main we will be having the while of true, which is the infinite loop, and as usual using the if underscore underscore name underscore underscore is equal to underscore underscore main underscore underscore main underscore underscore. We are just going to call the main function. And as we studied in the previous video, we are just going to implement each and every step by step. So as the first step, we are just going to configure ESP as access point, and following that we are just going to create socket and listen. So these are all the two functions that we are going to define, and inside the while of true, which is the infinite loop, we are just going to define another function, accept and respond. So these three things we are just going to configure. Let's take the first function, that is I am just going to write the definition for configure ESP as AP, and inside this I am just going to define a variable called AP, and I am just going to use the function network.wlan for configuring the WLAN wireless LAN for this particular ESP. So as a parameter to this function call, I am just going to pass AP underscore IF. So previously we have been configuring it as STA underscore IF for configuring the ESP8266 in station mode, and now we just want to configure this ESP8266 in access point mode, so we are passing this parameter to be AP.if, and after this we are just going to activate this AP configuration, and we are going to pass true. Here I'm just going to print something on the cell, creating access point, and following that I'm just going to configure the access point with the SSID and password. SSID is the first parameter to this function call. I'm just going to configure this name of the SSID to be NodeMCU, and the second parameter is the password. So password is the second parameter. I'm just going to give the password to be 12345678, and immediately after this I'm just going to write a while of not loop for checking whether the connection is active, access point connection is active, and if it is not active we will pass the sequence. And after the while loop I'm just going to print the network configurations with the help of instance ap.if config. So this will display all the IP address on all the relevant steps for us to communicate with this access point configured, and this function right over here will be helpful for configuring the NodeMCU in access point mode. And after that we are just going to define this socket and learn create function. I'm just going to write down the definition for this, and here I'm just going to declare a global variable. Let's take it to be yes, and in this global variable I'm just going to use the function called socket for creating the socket for communication. And as the first parameter for this function call, I'm just going to pass AF inet, and the second parameter will be socket dot sock stream. So this will create the socket which is of stream type, and then we will bind the communication with the port number 80. That's it. The port number is 80 and the IP address we are just giving it to be empty. Let it take whatever the IP it may be, and then we are just going to use the listen right over here for listening to the accepted sequences up to 5 times. So this will listen to the valid connections, and following that we are just going to define another function called web page function. Web page. In this web page I am just going to define a variable called HTML, and in this HTML I am just going to write a simple HTML code for displaying my name. Let's take it to be SM Training Academy, and I am going to close the HTML. That's it. And as the return type of this function, I'm just going to return the HTML variable. And finally, I'm just going to define the accept and response function. And inside this function, I'm just going to wait here for the connection of host, and here I'm just printing connection from address. So once it is connected, we will print the connection from address right over here. I'm just going to delete this bracket, this is wrong. And after this, I'm just going to fetch the request using the variable request. I have just defined a variable called request, and I'm going to receive the bytes up to 1024. And on receiving, I'm just going to print the content is equal to %s str of request, and response I'm just going to get to using the variable response, and I'm going to call the web page function right over here, and using the con variable I'm just going to use the send sequence for sending the response, and again using the con variable I'm just going to close the connection. That's all. Now I have already connected my NodeMCU to my PC through micro USB cable, and let's try to save this and let the interpreter find if there is any error. Luckily we have an error as usual. Going to the line number 7. Okay, we are creating the access point. We have made a mistake. This is single quotes. I'm just saving this and running this again. Line number 27. Here also we have some mistake, that is invalid syntax percentage here, that is the syntax error. Just running this again. You can see the access point has been created, but we got error again in the line number 39, 34. Okay, tracking back to 34, socket and listen, and going back to the socket and listen, line number 15 is having the error. 15, we have this, we have a spelling mistake here, so here I'm just changing this to socket, and I hope that's it. Let me run this program. You can see now my program is successfully running right over here. The access point has been created and all the errors has been resolved right over here. I just stopped this program and ran it again so that it is running properly in my cell. And this is the network configuration that I received. This is the IP address of my device, 192.168.4.1. So now what I will do is I am opening the network configuration in my PC, and here you can see I'm having my NodeMCU displayed right over here. So the Wi-Fi tethering has been started and my NodeMCU is popping out as an hotspot to other client devices such as laptops or mobile phones in my home. Now when I click on connect, it is asking for my password. So the password is 12345678. You can see 12345678. I'm just going to click on next. Yes, you can see the connection has been made. So now I'm just going to open my web browser, Chrome for example. Now I'm just going to open my IP 168.4.1. You can see my SM Training Academy has been printed as per the HTML page that we created right over here. Similarly, you can create even a responsible web page and get the data from the web page and process data right over here in your local network that has been created using the NodeMCU by developing the relevant Python scripts in Tony IDE. So I hope in this video you learned how you can configure the NodeMCU as access point for other client devices such as laptops and mobile phones in this particular video by developing the relevant Python scripts in Tony IDE. See you in the next video. Thanks for watching.